This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I love having return guests on the show, and last year I had Lynne Griffin of Black Christmas and Curtains on here. Last October, it was actually October 27th of 2016, so almost a year away. And then I had her husband, Sean Sullivan of Wayne's World and Ski Patrol, on here in November of last year. And now, folks, I'm having the honor and pleasure of having the two of them on here together. Yes, folks, please welcome Lynne Griffin and Sean Sullivan. Welcome to the show, you two.
And it's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, Fredericton.
Hello, Fredericton.
Pythonites everywhere.
Yes, it's fantastic. And, you know, it's interesting because it wasn't until I interviewed Lynne Griffin that I knew you two were a couple. And it's like, you know, like I said, Sean, I remember you from Ski Patrol when you were playing the role of Suicide and you had those two faces on the side of your head.
Somewhere I have those masks in storage. I got to get them out.
Yeah, you gotta get them out and torment your wife with them.
I know. I mean, not even for Halloween, but just to bother Lynn and chase her around with three personalities.
I was sure I threw them out. No, I sold them on eBay.
You what?
You know, I don't know. After Curtains, I don't know if hassling Lynn's a good idea.
Well, there is that. Yeah, there is that side of her.
Yeah. Well, and I wish I'd kept the hag mask.
Oh yeah.
There you go. You know what, Sean? I know I asked you this last year, but I gotta ask you again. Give us a little bit of your two personality voices from Ski Patrol.
Okay. Well, you know, Suicide was just kind of, you know, standard Valley. But then there was the other guy. I can't remember his name. He was like that. And then the other guy was kind of, sort of like Droopy Dog. And those guys are still in me.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to Lynn that way?
Yeah, on occasion.
All the time. I never know who I'm living with.
Yeah, keeps it interesting.
The best part, though, when you were mentioning 54, is that when he was playing Andy Warhol,
yeah,
he was literally embodying that character for the whole time he was involved on that project, and that was really weird.
That was kind of creepy.
Well, Crispin Glover played Andy Warhol in the Doors movie.
Right, yeah, and David Bowie played him in Basquiat.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, that's about the young painter in New York, Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Yeah.
And David Bowie. So I'm in sterling company, you know.
Wow.
I know.
So how's Toronto right now? You guys got some nice weather there right now?
Beautiful.
We have the most beautiful
October
display of fall-colored leaves.
Yeah.
We live at the top of a ravine, and it's the Bayview Extension. And we were driving down it yesterday and remarking on the incredible colors that we're seeing.
Yep.
This is my favorite time of year.
Yeah, it's a Technicolor dream. It's really nice. How is it in Fredericton?
We got some really nice weather. It's starting to cool off for the fall, but I know our winters is something I don't look forward to because I remember this past winter, I did an interview in February, and when I got outside, it was like a half past midnight when I left the studio, and I come outside, and I was in the midst of a snowstorm, and it took me like 5 minutes to get out of the parking lot. And when when I woke up the following morning, the snow was up to our door locks on the cars.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like your neck of the woods.
Well, I remember seeing a post by Lynn, who I guess was in Halifax, and I guess her flight got delayed because of a snowstorm.
Was that last year?
That might have been, yeah. That was, we were both stranded.
I was doing a play in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and we were like the last plane out before like a 3-day blizzard. That it's like we would have been living in the Halifax airport for a couple of days because there was no getting in or out. And it's funny, all these flights were getting canceled, and we saw ours was still up there, and we're going, I don't know if I really want to get up in the air right now.
Yeah.
Blizzard coming in, but we did get out, but just barely. It was nuts.
Yeah.
I'm going back there at the same time of year.
And then he's going back to work in Sydney.
Well, Lynne, I remember you remarking when I interviewed you that you were part of Theatre New Brunswick and that you had your first sushi here in Fredericton.
That's right.
Wow.
And also that I had been in a snowstorm in Fredericton, and when they actually cleared the streets, I remember, because there was so much snow, there was sort of the sidewalks had become like a tunnel, so that there was like this huge bank that was on the roadside, and then this huge bank that people had piled up on their lawns, and so you were literally walking through this sort of ice tunnel.
Wow. Yeah.
It was beautiful, though.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of winter driving, so winter is not my favorite time of year.
No, it's like if you can do winter the way you want to, like, you know, all cozied up and not having to go out, and you've got everything you need, and there's no power going out. That's great. But we had, I think it was shortly after I talked to you last year, because we were touring our Christmas Carol comedy.
Yeah.
Toronto is about a 45-minute drive to Hamilton.
Okay.
And we were going back and forth because we were doing our show in Hamilton. It took us 4 hours one day to get to Hamilton during a snowstorm to do the show.
Oh, wow.
I turned into 4 hours. And we were actually late for the curtain, but we talked to them on the phone, and the audience was hanging in. And so basically we got there, threw our clothes on, and started the show. There's no warm-up, no nothing. It was insane. So, yeah, there's parts of winter I really could live without.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I got to ask. I might have asked you this before, but give a little recap. How you two met?
Oh, okay. You want me to start? I'll start.
Sure.
Well, you can tell the story of the first read-through of the play that we met on.
Okay. Well, so I kind of grew up at this theater in Southern California where my mom had been an actress, the Old Globe Theater, and I had moved to Los Angeles working in TV and film. Lynne was cast in a play there, and there was, the cast was all set, 2 guys and Lynne. And then I got a call saying one of the guys wasn't going to do the play. Could I come in and do it? And I went, well, it's a chance to go back home and to theater that I kind of grew up at. So that's where Lynne and I met. We met on the day of the first rehearsal. We were introduced, and I had seen Lynne on stage already and was thoroughly smitten. And my mom was working at that theater, and she was kind of playing matchmaker, though I don't think either of us knew it, because she was working with Lynne, and she was talking to me about, there's this girl working at the Globe that I think you'd really like to meet. She's a really nice person, and she's from Canada, and da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, so we meet. Sparks kind of flew right away. We sit down to read the play for the first time, and, you just sit around, you read the play, and the stage manager will read stage directions like they run off stage or they kiss, which is what this stage direction was. That moment came, and instead of the stage manager just saying they kiss, Lynne reached over and gave me a big, wet kiss. We had met about an hour earlier. And here we are 30 years later. And thus it began.
Had you seen any of Lynne's movies prior to this?
I don't think I had. No, I'm pretty sure I hadn't. No. I mean, I was a big SCTV fan, but I don't think I'd seen Strange Brew yet, though I might have. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. So, yeah, I got introduced to her filmography after we met.
Yeah, I remember sitting you down. I don't know if I was going away somewhere.
You were.
And you said, give me all of your films and I'm going to sit and watch them so that I won't miss you while you're away. And you did a binge watch of...
I binge watched Lynne Griffin.
Now, what did you think when you saw her horror movies like Black Christmas and Curtains?
Oh, man. Well, because I saw Black Christmas early on. I didn't see Curtains for a while. And when I first saw it, it was on one of those really kind of bad VHS ones before they did the nice restoration. That one, I really liked that one because, you know, Lynne got to play victims and nice girls most of the time. And I knew there was another side to her. So when I saw Curtains, I went, well, they're finally addressing that other side. You know, there's
the murderous side.
There's a fierce side to this sweet little girl. But, yeah, but I saw Black Christmas and, yeah, I kind of jumped. When the dry cleaning bag hit her face.
Yeah.
I sat there with my mouth open as she was, you know, rocking back and forth in that chair. So yeah, it had quite an effect. But then I also watched The Amateur, where she is brutally murdered in like the first 16 minutes of the movie. And I couldn't watch the rest of the movie because we just started going out and she was out of town. And I watched this, you know, horrible death scene. And it's like, that's it. I don't want to watch any more of that. So I don't think I've ever seen the whole movie.
The rest of the movie. No.
Which movie was this? The Amateur?
Called The Amateur, and it stars John Savage, Christopher Plummer, Marta Keller. And it's basically about a CIA ciphers expert, and I played his fiance, and I was killed during a hostage taking. I actually shot it in Vienna, Austria.
And Munich.
Okay, I don't know that film.
Yeah, and it's like John Savage is like, you know, a desk jockey in the CIA, but then he goes out into the field to avenge his wife's death, and that's sort of the main plot. But the way they show this, it's like sort of like Baader-Meinhof gang, this German extremist group. They take, is it a bank or a travel agency or?
It's actually the
consulate.
It's the American consulate.
American consulate, and they take everyone hostage. But it's shot very docudrama, and it's like you're watching TV. And they bring Lynne out into the street in front of the cameras, and they hold a pistol to her head, and they drop her, and it's pretty graphic and
very
takes
realistic.
your breath away.
Yeah, it was very realistically shot.
It's a good movie. From what I saw, I only saw the first 16 minutes. So.
Oh, I hope the villains get their...
I'm so happy with Curtains that I actually made it to the final reel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't make it to the final reel.
Not in a lot of movies, no.
Yeah, like you're the first one gone in Black Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but we keep seeing her, though.
We keep seeing her. Now you're gonna go to Horror Hound here the first weekend in November. Are you gonna bring a plastic bag with you?
I always do.
We already checked. We've got it ready to go.
I say when things get dull and, you know, maybe I'm not getting enough attention from the fans, I just put it over my head and it immediately attracts attention.
Yeah, I was telling you on the phone, I had Nick Mancuso on after I interviewed you, and he was relating that you've done that before too.
Yeah.
I think that Art and Nick may have put me up to it.
Yeah?
Completely possible. I'd say blame them. Yeah.
See, but I always said to Leslie Donaldson that from Curtains that she should take like the top lid of a toilet seat.
Yeah.
And have her picture taken with the toilet seat around
Framing
her
face. Yeah.
Like out of Curtains. And I don't
know why she's never done that.
She's never done
Actually,
that.
I think I do know why she's never done that.
Actually, I said to Leslie Donaldson, I said, you have something in common with Jeff Lebowski, Jeff Bridges. You both had your head in the toilet.
That's right. We just watched The Big Lebowski.
I love The Big Lebowski.
Brilliant.
And that film's going to be 20 years old next year. Can you believe that?
Well, last night we sat and watched The Elephant Man.
Yep, David Lynch, yep.
Believe it or not, was released in 1980.
80, yep.
That's how, I can't believe that movie is from 1980.
That's from before we met.
Yeah. I can't believe it, though. It seems like...
That's almost 40.
Oh!
Wow.
Yeah, almost 40.
I was born in 1972, so I remember we were talking about Michael York, and I'm 54, and we're talking about Cabaret. I thought funny, Sean Sullivan, you said you were in 9th grade, and that was the first movie you took a date to was Cabaret.
Yeah, and yes, that was, grade 9. And I don't recall the circumstances, but I just knew that, well, I grew up in a very theater family, and I saw the previews for Cabaret, and my very first girlfriend also saw the previews, and so, I think it was our one and only date. It didn't last that long, it was grade 9.
You should have took her to The Godfather. That was the same year, yep.
A movie date once with someone who took me to see Eraserhead.
Oh,
Wow.
Speaking of David Lynch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
I think we might have also seen Apocalypse Now together.
I love Apocalypse Now.
And possibly The Exorcist as well.
This is a cool relationship.
Yeah, it didn't last, though, obviously.
No, obviously. Yeah, those aren't your standard kind of
Date night. Not a rom-com.
No.
Not a one of them.
But for, proper nerd couple, it's like awesome. I mean, very cool, actually.
Well, Eraserhead was a bit unsettling, I must say.
Well, it is David Lynch.
And my first dose of David Lynch, too.
My favorite David Lynch film is Mulholland Drive. That was so bizarre. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Love us a little David Lynch here and there.
Yeah.
Well, I love filmmakers that try to be innovative and creative, and you don't see so much of it anymore. And then when somebody actually tries, like I love the new Blade Runner, for example, and yet people aren't going to it,
Yeah.
But people sit through something as boring as Titanic for 3 hours, but they won't sit.
know.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And nobody says anything about that. I know. We still haven't seen the Blade Runner, but we're planning on it. But yeah, it's like there was that period in the 70s when directors really had control of their movies, and that it's true that period is kind of gone. But you do every once in a while, there is someone who really is trying to push the edges out, and I know we're always looking forward to those people. Just to use the form to create something that hasn't, as opposed to just, rehashing something that's already been done.
Guillermo
del Toro.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you come here, Greg, that the AGO, the Art Gallery of Ontario right now, has an exhibit of all the props and various paraphernalia from all of Guillermo del Toro's movies, so you should go see it. We're going.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, I'm set to go to Horrorama, and you want me to tell you something? I've never been outside of New Brunswick before in my 45 years.
Wow, this is going to be awesome.
It's a big thing.
Well, I've had Lisa Langlois on my show twice, and her manager sends all of his clients my way, so how can I turn that down? I've been a fan of hers since the 80s, so...
I know.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
I've got to do it. And Gene and I have been in talks, and I'm going to bring my Class of 1984 Blu-ray for her to sign.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've interviewed 5 people from Class of 1984. That film got a major promotion from me this year for its 35th anniversary. And
That's awesome.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her and Leslie Donaldson and you two, and plus...
Yeah, and who knows who else you'll meet and whose autographs you might be able to get.
Well,
I know if you can get everybody's, if they're still around.
Well, you know what? I got a VIP ticket. I bought the VIP ticket, so.
Excellent.
Excellent.
I imagine I'll probably see Leslie outside the convention too, because I've had her on my show, and I know one time I got a message from her one time. She said, if I'm ever in Toronto, we should do dinner. She said, her treat, and I'm like, I never thought I would actually take her up on it, but I'm like, now I'm going to Toronto.
It's time to take her up on it.
Although I'm not going to go skating with her.
No, don't do that.
Nah, probably not such a good idea.
Although I bet you she's a better skater than me, and that's, judging from her comments about curtains, that's saying something.
I don't know if she stepped it up or not, living in New York. Well, maybe in New York.
Yeah, I don't know.
Skating in New York.
Yeah, Rockefeller Center.
Sure.
There you go.
But it's like me and, dry cleaners. I don't really like going to the dry cleaners.
Do you take Sean Sullivan out to the cleaners?
I've taken him out to the cleaners long ago.
More times than not, yes.
That might be where his two masks are.
Oh no, they've been dry cleaned.
They've been dry cleaned. So you don't recognize them anymore.
Yeah, I know. They've been smoothed out.
Clean up your act, Sullivan.
I need to ask though about your play last year. You two did some Christmas play last year, and you two haven't done any films together, right?
Yes, we have.
Oh.
TV.
Okay.
Yeah, we did a TV movie together. There is like this huge franchise of. It's now been a series on television for 10 years called the Murdoch Mystery.
Okay.
We did the original Murdoch Mystery movie. And I don't know what year. But it's called Poor Tom is Cold. I'm sure you can see it in CBC archives. But the interesting thing about that movie was that I was cast as the mother of a young police officer who is killed, and Sean was the killer.
Okay.
And of course, when they found out that we were a couple and off we went to shoot it in Winnipeg, we decided it'd be fun to stay in the same hotel room.
Well, of course.
Of course we did. And so we had this lovely suite, and we went, but this is really funny because the people think that the killer and the mother of the young man who's killed are actually sleeping together.
Quite a plot twist. But I think that's the only time on camera. Which is strange because we've worked on stage together on and off our whole careers. But that was the only time. But it was funny because it was a fairly large cast. But it was funny that we ended up in those particular roles. That the victim's mother and the killer. It's almost like a Greek tragedy. I don't know. It's really weird.
And we didn't have scenes together.
Oh yeah, and we didn't actually ever appear in scenes together. So that was weird.
Yeah. So we haven't actually. Now, of course, they did the play that we originally met on. At one point, had been filmed. So we do have ourselves
by Bob
Clark, who actually was the director of Black Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have that, which is fascinating to watch now because it's actually a film version of the play that we met on, which was called Voice of the Prairie by John Olive. And we have it on VHS, and we've actually watched it. And it's amazing because it's like the total first moments that we were together, and really because it was after the play run was over that we shot the film version of it, and we were just newly
romantic.
Thank you, that's a good word.
Do you two have a favorite play you've two done together?
Favorite play. Oh, wow.
I mean, that one is very high on the list because basically it's a great play about it's sort of two plots. One is about two teenage kids in the 19th century who run off together and we played those two kids. And the girl is blind, and the boy is an Irish runaway. But then we also played other characters where Lynne played the same girl grown up, and I played this New York radio salesman who's selling radios at the beginning of the age of radio, to farmers out in the prairies. And it's a beautiful play, and it let us play, young boyfriend, girlfriend, and but other plays that we've
and people who kiss.
People who kiss.
Yeah, that's where I got the idea. Yeah. But other plays that we've done together, I really liked Our Country's Good.
Okay.
Which is about, Our Country's Good is about the Australia as a penal colony that, basically started out as a place where people were sent, as punishment for major crimes.
Okay.
And all the actors in the play both British officers who are watching over these people, as well as playing inmates. And these inmates actually put a play on in the course of the play. Anyway, it's a wonderful play about early Australia, and we got to do that one together. That was right at the top of the list, I think.
Yeah.
How did things go last year? You did your Christmas play, and I saw all the pictures, and you two, just judging from the pictures, you two look like you were having some fun with that.
Oh, it's so much fun. This a friend of ours, a young woman, Katie Lehman, wrote this play. It's a 1-hour version of Christmas Carol.
Okay.
Two actors. One actor, Jesse Buck, played Scrooge, and then I played everybody else in the story.
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah, once again with the masks. Yeah, and Lynne directed it, and it's it is the same story, but it's very tongue in cheek. It's got a lot of comedy to it, and so yeah, it was a ball, and we toured around Ontario last Christmas, and there's nothing kind of like doing a version of A Christmas Carol as Christmas is approaching to put you in the Christmas spirit. It was just like we spent the entire sort of the end of November right up to Christmas touring the play, and you're just seeing people come to the play and getting in the spirit, and it's really hard not to have fun doing something like that, even though we did have the 4-hour drive to Hamilton. But it was awesome.
And it was really fun to direct. It's always fun to direct Sean.
Yeah.
A bit of
you direct Sean every day.
I do direct every day. I don't know that he actually listens to me every day.
I listen. I just don't necessarily take your direction.
But it was fun directing Sean and Jesse Buck, because it was literally like sort of having like maybe 2 8-year-old boys in a room together with props and
we had
hats
so much fun not rehearsing.
Yeah, trying to get them to behave themselves and actually keep on task.
Yeah,
was the biggest job. It was sort of like I had to be the school teacher.
Yeah, we kind of made it hard on Lynne a bit because we were having an awful lot of fun, but in the end we all got along. But Lynne had to crack the whip a little bit.
And even the playwright was sort of encouraging improvisation. So
yeah.
We were just talking about, like, for me trying to pull it back onto the rails and say, we open in a week. We have to put something together. And every time something new would be introduced, obviously, more and crazy things would evolve. So I didn't like to have to be sort of the disciplinarian, but it was the only way to go.
The only way we were going to actually have a show ready.
Yeah.
So basically you had to tear a page out of John Vernon's book in Curtains, right?
Yeah, I had to be tough.
Yeah.
Although I could never be as tough as John Vernon.
I'm glad.
Well, John Vernon was the infamous Dean Wormer.
Yeah, and he
indeed.
He was intimidating anyway. I mean, it's sweet, but once you're in a scene with him, he can be intimidating.
I remember asking Leslie Donaldson, I said, did John Vernon give you double secret probation?
I don't know.
From Animal House, that's what he said. From now on, you're on double secret probation.
Double secret probation.
0.0. John Belushi with those two pencils up his nose. Like
I love that. Dean Wormer.
Yeah. Oh, he was a great presence in that movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, you had to have someone be the, you have to have someone be the fall guy. It's like Jeffrey Jones in Ferris Bueller.
Yep.
John Vernon in Animal House.
Yep.
Someone's got to take it in the face.
Yep. But I was going to say, you're doing your play. Lynn, had you directed before that? Was this the first for you? What was it like going from being an actress to being a director?
I actually like it a lot, and I might see myself doing more of it in the future. But I started out by actually directing Sean. Sean has a solo play called Baby Red Boots Revenge, which he had done for many, many years. And when I met Sean and I finally saw an archival version of that show, I said, you've got to revive this, and I want to direct it. And so we have done that play in many different incarnations over the years. And we keep when we've taken it to New York, we've taken it to Poland, the Czech Republic, we did the Eastern European tour of it. So my first, directing job was directing Sean.
Okay.
In this play that was written for him by Philip Dimitri Galas. But, he didn't really require much direction. It was more, conceptualizing it and just watching him be amazing, because he is truly amazing in this show. And then, funnily enough, talking about Voice of the Prairie, I don't know how many years ago it was now, we were actually approached. I was approached to direct The Voice of the Prairie, the play that we met on in a theater in Southern California, which we did. And I brought Sean along. Sean wrote the original music for the play and also helped me tremendously with directing the play, because obviously he played the roles in it, so he was really helpful with the actor who was playing his part. But I actually got to direct and fully stage the play with other actors that we two had met on at that point, 20 years?
Like 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
Wow.
We also have directed an Alice in Wonderland. We like to co-direct as well.
Okay.
Katie Lehman has written a funny version of Alice in Wonderland that we directed as well together.
Did Sean fall down the rabbit's hole?
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, but it was. It's also and written by the same woman who did the Christmas Carol that we do. So yeah, it was a very silly production with some very wonderful and silly young actors. But yeah, I had to get in there and play with them a bit.
Wow. So between acting in film and doing plays, which do you two prefer?
I'm out of a different mind. I used to always say plays because you have the immediate response of a live audience,
mm-hmm.
and you are creating the character from the very beginning through the entire arc and journey of the play, and you're obviously not stopping and shooting scenes. With film, shooting scenes out of order is always really difficult, and sometimes you're in there shooting love scenes before you even met the actor, and sometimes you're shooting things that you go, oh, I wish I had known, because you're shooting something at the end of the film rather than at the beginning of the film, and it's all out of order. But lately I've sort of taken to film a lot more. I will plug the latest one. I just did, I guess it's a remake of the movie Fahrenheit 451.
Okay.
By Ray Bradbury. The original movie was shot in 1966.
Okay.
So they have certainly updated the whole story and plot line. It stars Michael Shannon and Michael J. No, I can't remember Oh, that's really bad. Anyway, he's really good. But I got to be set on fire, and something about I was playing the woman who, defies the authorities and keeps all the books, and eventually sets her whole library on fire in front of them. So there was something about doing that, and watching all the special effects we did, and the enormous amount of people it took to create this amazing scene. I think it will be pretty amazing in the film when it's done. It was done for HBO. So there's something about filmmaking that I find extraordinarily tantalizing to see how it's done, and to be a part of that and to work with really great film actors has always been a really a lovely part of it, because we bring so many really strong, wonderful actors up here to work with us in Canada.
Yeah, I would love to see the Canadian films get back to where they were. I'm right now researching a film that's currently, I don't know if it's been released yet, called Tax Shelter Terrors. And I was looking at that and I was like, man, this is talking about movies way back in the Canadian days when movies were really recognized here, and I mean, we've had the Trailer Park Boys movies released, and Bon Cop, Bad Cop, and Hobo with a Shotgun. And just Maudie just released this year. So we got a few. I'd love to see Canadian cinema make a comeback, where we actually can stamp our names on it.
Us too, and part of that is that there was that, a huge infusion of money from the government in the 70s.
Yeah.
That made it possible, and I don't think it is possible, really, without that kind of support. Just because it's, feature films, even low budget feature films, are an expensive proposition, and it'd be nice to see if the Liberal government would invest some money in Canadian cinema.
Well, we get a lot of films shot up here, like Mean Girls and Deadpool and whatnot, shot up here, but they're American films. And I miss the days of Class of 1984 and Black Christmas and the Cronenberg movies and movies like that were Canadian movies, and now it's like anytime there is a Canadian film, it's barely recognized, although Maudie did get some recognition this year, so I'm happy about that. So,
right, but it's the exception rather than the rule that you actually even hear about them. Because I did a Ken Finkelman feature. I'm trying to remember the name of it. That show. That's how bad it is. It was originally called God and Country. While I talk about it, I'll look it up. But this was a feature film that he took 4 years to make, and it opened and it closed. It's like they don't get the distribution.
No.
And it's you need that. Oh, it's called An American Dream, and it came out earlier this year.
Yeah, we went to a screening of it. It was really good.
Wow.
It was, but it's like. Yeah, but it's like, no one knows about it, and tons of great, really good performances by all sorts of wonderful Canadian actors, and barely a blip. So
that's unfortunate.
It's not only getting the support to make these films in Canada by Canadians, but to just make sure they get distributed well, because you can make the film, but it's like you and your 10 best friends get to see it. It's like to actually get them out there, and promote it.
And to let, Canadian actors and Canadian filmmakers really shine. Because there's really great writers, and I know, we're good at comedy. We're certainly really good at horror films. I mean, I think, when you look back at Black Christmas being the start of it, like a real incredible genre in horror film and the making of horror films, and you go, back then it's such a rich field, and I think you were talking about the CFDC and the government support of it, and now also it's much more expensive to try and put a film together, but it would be nice to see more of that done and more support given to having product being completely Canadian, rather than thinking that we have to have like the first few A-listers in the film have to be able to even sell the film. We have to have some American stars, but why can't we have all Canadian actors and all Canadian technicians, directors, all the way down the whole line?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hear, hear.
Yeah, I agree. And there's been some good stuff shot here. Like I said, when I come to Toronto, like I got two different Blu-ray releases of Black Christmas. One is a Criterion edition, so I'll bring those both with me when I meet you two. And of course, what do you think? All these years later, Black Christmas is still being seen.
Well, and this whole resurgence for me of being able to go out on the convention circuit and having so many new fans discover it. It's quite brilliant. And people who now are saying it's their kind of go-to Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I think it helps that I got to be on the cover of the DVD and Blu-ray release, that people go, that's maybe why they want my autograph, because I go, like a lot of those movies, it's like you blink and you miss me. But I'm still, like, it's delightful to me to think that it's had this incredible long life, and certainly really major revival.
And new generations of fans coming up.
Yeah. And it was great, because these films do get re-released on on DVD and certainly on Blu-ray, that people are really interested in seeing them and collecting them. I think it's great. I mean, I'm thrilled to support the film for as long as I live and as long as it has life.
Yeah, the remake was horrible.
This is what I heard. We have not yet watched it, and we may never. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta say, I loved Margot Kidder in the movie. I just get a laugh out of her every time she's tormenting that poor cop and her story about the zebras and the turtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a kick out of her, and Olivia Hussey as well. She's wonderful in it. I had somebody was saying that was kind of a breakthrough thing for her playing the heroine, but yet her character's contemplating an abortion. That was kind of a taboo subject back then.
Oh, certainly.
No kidding. Yeah.
Certainly it was. I mean, I think it was groundbreaking on many levels.
Yeah.
It was not something that was talked about at all. Yeah, and you forget that when you kind of think of Black Christmas overall. And it wasn't until I actually screened it again, 5-6 years ago, that I realized, oh my God, because you're thinking of it as a horror film, and that it's not even really thinking about it having a moral message, but it clearly does.
Yes.
And that to me is really a strong part of the movie.
Yes. And of course I had, as I mentioned, Nick Mancuso come on here as the voice of Billy.
Yep.
Nick was a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I might have threw him off with the suicide depression challenge, though, but
That's right, you had mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had to tell him. I said, Lynne Griffin told me to throw the nomination out to you. I don't know if he took me seriously, but I'm still connected with him on Facebook, and I heard from him on Thanksgiving when I wished him happy Thanksgiving there here in Canada. But I for a minute, I wasn't sure whether he took me seriously, and I last thing I want to do is have people think I'm joking.
Except when you are joking.
Yeah. Yep. Well, but nonetheless, and of course, Curtains, I just got the Blu-ray of that because it wasn't in town here, so I ordered it because I know I'm going to see Leslie Donaldson at the Horrorama, and I now can get you to sign it as well. That film went under quite a troubling production.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, I didn't find, when I was shooting it, I wasn't aware of a lot of what was going on. Of course, I was aware that when we came back, several months, maybe even, I don't know, more than a year later, to reshoot the ending, that obviously there had been trouble. And I had really enjoyed working with Richard Shupka, who is the director of the picture, but not the director credited. And I don't know, I think Richard Shupka was a really extraordinary sort of auteur and had a lot of really beautiful ideas for the film. And I think, possibly they wanted it to be more commercial than he was making it, and wanted it to have more sort of gore and fear factor, and he was making it really sort of psychological. And anyway, whatever the reasons were, I never had any inkling of it while I was actually making it. I enjoyed the process very much. So it did, I think, become problematical with its release, and then therefore how long it took to actually finally get it on the screen, and then the fact that it disappeared really for so many years, except for this horrible VHS kind of bootleg of it. I was really, really pleased when I heard that they were, remastering the whole thing and then going to a screening of it when I saw it on a big screen, and it was really, really beautiful. It was really, they did an extraordinary, a really great job with the remaster of it. So I'm glad. I'm really glad that has had a life too, mainly because I really loved the role of Patty and being able to play something very different at that point for myself. I was always kind of dramatic and not the comic.
I love that scene too on the stairwell where you have it out with John Vernon, and you really show a change in going from being the humorous character to really coming down. That was a great moment for you. Right.
Well, I was, still am, I guess. I should say I was a dramatic actress, but that's mainly what I was doing. So doing the stand-up part was much, much more of a challenge for me.
You improvised the stand-up, didn't you?
Yeah. And I did it, in front of a live audience at Yuck Yuck,
Which is terrifying.
I love that line. You wanted to be in pictures so bad you banged somebody at Photo Lab or something like that.
That you can do it in and out in 5 minutes.
Oh, I thought that was really good.
Nowadays.
What's that?
That joke wouldn't work nowadays. We've all gone digital.
Yeah.
No photo mats anymore.
Nope, not now. But yeah, we'd all do it on our phones now.
I guess. Yeah.
That's what I'll be doing when I go to Horrorama.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna say though, I can't blame the director, because when you have a vision, you don't want the studio interfering with it. So I really sympathize with him. But at the same token, I think Curtains kind of turned out really well.
Well, I think it did. I mean, the sort of latter part of the movie is not Richard's vision.
Yeah.
Because, and I even have, when I see you, I'll have to give you, I have an original photograph from what the original ending that Richard Chupka shot of the movie. And it's funny because, I remember shooting it if it was never used, and we went back and reshot, the scene. Well, they reshot that whole scene with Sandy Curry when she's in with all the props and costumes and being chased.
I got to admit, I like that.
That was all reshot, plus my scene with Samantha Egger at the ending, plus the ending of the film with me doing my stand-up act back in the institution. It's not the way the film originally ended. So, but I have a photograph, so I'm going to give you one of those photographs of the original ending. Yeah, it's not obviously footage, because the footage I heard was destroyed.
Oh,
very sad.
Because that would have been a great special feature on the Blu-ray release. But yeah, I guess, and they found out, I think, literally like a couple of years before that footage, before they started doing the remaster, had been destroyed. But it's very interesting that it was a much more kind of artful and a different take on the ending of the movie entirely. I think much more dark and artful than what ended up being the final cut.
Well, I got to admit, though, of course, he uses the name of the director, played by John Vernon.
I know.
Yeah. But he was interviewed on the Blu-ray, huh?
Don't you find that strange?
Yeah. Well, beats Alan Smithy.
You know, it's like, I know when I saw that, I went, like, will people go, what? Like, isn't he the director in the movie? So was he the director of the movie? Which, of course, he wasn't.
Well, I gotta say, I've watched the Blu-ray and watched some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and Richard is interviewed on it. I think he's kind of happy that the film has gained a life, so I think he's happy about that.
Right. And don't they include? I thought they included a rather long documentary on Richard's career on the Blu-ray.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I might reach out to him next year for the film's 35th anniversary.
Facebook friend.
Okay. Yeah, I tried to reach out to a few people you suggested. I did get Nick Mancuso, but Nancy Kies and Olivia Hussey I have not heard back from, so...
I can definitely prod Nancy for you.
Yeah, because Halloween's going to be 40 years old next year, and it's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would love to get Nancy, you know.
Okay, I will give Nancy an extra nudge.
Yeah, because I'm pretty good with my guests. I don't get personal with people, you know. Sometimes I wonder. I've had a couple people recently. They've accepted my request, and then I would respond to them, giving them thanking them for the response, and then I'd never hear from them. And it's like, you know, just give me a yes or a no. You know, I don't bite.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just don't be flaky.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Nancy is now very much a visual artist and has not acted in years. So
I've seen her work. Yeah.
It may just be that she is in such a different direction, but I mean, I can certainly ask her.
Well, and tell her how much fun it is to talk to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would treat her. I would treat her so well if I got her on here. I would love to talk to Nancy. Yeah.
No, you would. So yeah, we will try and.
Are you going to send her an email right now?
Yeah.
Sean just picked up his computer, and I went, I think he's going to email her.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
We can do.
Well, there's some movies that's celebrating like anniversaries this year, and it's a shame I can't find people to come on and talk about them. And here's one problem I get backed up in the wall against is some of these, I hate to spot TMZ, but some people point to them as being guilty as getting too personal with people, and they start talking about relationships or crap in the tabloids. And to me, people just want to hear about the movies and the plays and stuff. That's what people want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what people want to hear about. But
it seems to me that it's up to the person being interviewed. You know, you kind of set the rules about what you want to reveal or what you don't want to reveal, I guess. I mean, unless they're asking really probing questions that you're like, I don't want to discuss my life.
But we can certainly tell her that you don't do anything like that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. It's kind of like I was watching Rosemary's Baby last night, and that film's going to be 50 years old next year, and I was like, I would love to get Mia Farrow on, but with the whole Woody Allen thing, it would almost be impossible to get her to trust somebody, even though that's not the direction I want to go.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm backed up and against the wall with. You know, and I don't blame people for being cautious, but yeah, I try to give people this idea that, you know, they can talk to me and I will be respectful of their time with me. You know. But
I think in light of current events, that people are going to be much more open to talking. Not necessarily about personal things or and all that, but I think they're going to be much more in solidarity of just talking about the business and talking about film and talking about the way it works and stuff. I think it certainly seems to have opened some door that's been kind of closed, that people feel that they have to really, really secure their privacy somehow.
Yeah.
I really felt that, but I think that's why they're so protective of their privacy, and I think, we've just blown the doors wide off, right off of Hollywood.
Oh, I don't blame them at all, but yeah. But, you've got 2 anniversaries coming out next year with Curtains and Strange Brew will be 35 years old.
Ah!
Wow.
Wow, and I'm still only 29. How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't get that too,
You should see the portrait up in the attic.
A little picture of Dorian Gray reference. A little obscure, but okay.
Obscure. That's okay. Yeah.
I gotta say, I love that.
35 years old?
Yeah, 1983 next year, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Maybe I'll be able to get out on the convention circuit even more with anniversaries coming up.
Yeah, and of course...
I have a new rep that Art Hindle.
Yeah, and it's also got to say, too, in Curtains, working with Samantha Agar, that talk about real screen presence there.
Oh, yeah. And I was a huge fan because I loved the movie that she did called The Collector.
Yep.
With Terrence Stamp.
Yep.
So I was a huge fan. She wasn't particularly warm to work with, but I think somehow because she was set up a bit in the storyline of Curtains too, to have all these young, nubile young actresses, and she had to play the older one.
Yeah, but there was nothing wrong with her. She was still nice to look at.
Still very nice to look at it.
Yep. There's nothing wrong with her at all,
Oh, she would love to hear you say that.
Well, I've reached out to her. I couldn't. I haven't heard any response from her, but I would tickle her ears with the Brood, tickle her ears with comments.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but
see, this is what it's nice because as much as it sort of sometimes feels a little awkward to talk about yourself, it's still very flattering that people want to hear about you.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, it's flattering.
Yeah, well, it is. And you know what? We can't forget another anniversary this year.
What's that?
Wayne's World just turned 25.
30, what? How?
25 years ago, you drooled all over Rob Lowe's shoulder.
Wow. Seems like only yesterday.
25 years ago. How does that feel?
That feels kind of wow. Yeah. Oh, that's incredible.
You did that, I think, right after Ski Patrol, I think.
Pardon?
I think you did Wayne's World right after Ski Patrol.
Yeah, it was about a year and a little bit. Because Ski Patrol was shot in 89, and Back to the Future 3 was 89, and then Wayne's World shot in 90.
Okay. Yeah, Back to the Future 3 was released in 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Ski Patrol was either 90 or 91 or something like that. That was released.
I can't remember when it was released, but I kind of go by when they were shooting. But God, yeah, Wayne's World, 25 years, and I still, it's crazy because I'll start to work on a project and somehow someone will find out about it, and it's amazing the number of people and the younger actors and actresses who will say, you don't understand, this is
an important movie as I was growing up. It's a cultural icon, and it's bizarre to think of that, but it certainly has had staying power.
Well, it was very different. I think between that and the Blues Brothers were both two of the very best movies to come out of Saturday Night Live, and they've had some clunkers, but those two stand head over heels as two of the best.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start to really go through the list of things that were, from sketches or were developed by SNL people, how few of them really flew.
And then there were some of them that didn't really fly, but maybe should. Like Superstar, I thought was better than people give it credit for example, with
well, some of it, that's it. It's like, they're good if you give them a chance, but they didn't get the kind of support, critical support or whatever. But yeah, I remember actually sneaking into a screening of Wayne's World right after it came out, because I went to the official screening. But that's, it's everybody who's involved in it, so it's going to be a great audience.
Yeah.
I went to a multiplex with some members of my family to see it about a year after it came out.
Okay.
And it was so cool to actually hear people just really enjoying the movie who had nothing to do with, like, the making of it.
Yes.
Because, you never get a real read on something when you see it with everyone who is involved. But, yeah, that was amazing. So 25 years, my God.
Yeah, 25 years. And I remember when that came out. So it's like, holy cow, like, where does time go?
I know. I remember when I got my groovy Roots jacket for Wayne's World. We got these beautiful black, what were they, leather and, I don't know what they were, but they were like, kind of bomber jackets that Roots made with Wayne's World on them. I wore it a couple times, but it was like wearing a big billboard, and I didn't feel too comfortable, so I ended up giving it to my nephew, who was a big fan of the movie. So, but now I go, if I held on to that, I could probably sell that for a nice chunk of change.
Yep.
If I wasn't going to wear it, if I didn't feel like, emotionally connected, I could probably move that jacket because I think just the jacket itself cost a couple $100.
Oh, probably more.
Because it was it was one of the gifts they gave everybody on the movie. But, yeah. What did I do that for? My stupid nephew.
You think he kept it?
Yeah, what if he sold it?
Yeah.
I always keep autographs and stuff that I've received over the years. So, because there's very few celebrities that are okay with people making money off it. I can't do that. I find if somebody gives me their autograph, it's a keeper for me. So.
Well, and it's also because you're doing it for the reason that, you love the work, you're in it for the right reason, as opposed to people who show up at things to get autographs simply because they want to turn them around and sell them.
Well, I was going to say, like, I know, Lynn, you're going to Horror Hound, and I've interviewed so many people that's going to be at that, and unfortunately I won't be at that, but I know one of the people that's going to be there is the absolutely gorgeous Melanie Kahneman. I think she's beautiful, and I've had her on a couple of years ago from Friday the 13th, Part 5, and she was telling me that she had not done a convention, and then she started hearing about autographed pictures of hers selling online that she did not sign. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, so she started going to the conventions, and she was like, if people are going to get an autograph, she wants people to pay to have her autograph. And
she wants it to be authentic.
Yeah, she was so nice and sent me a couple of autographs herself, but I look forward to hopefully someday, maybe she'll come to Toronto, but there's a whole bunch of people that I've interviewed that's going to be at that convention with you. But
Well, you're going to be at a pretty good one yourself.
I am. Before we talk about that, though, next year also, Sean, you got another anniversary because 54 is going to be 20 years old.
That makes sense because it was just a little while after we moved to Toronto that I did that. So not next year. Wow.
You know, and that movie did not do well when it came out, and I went and saw it a couple of times, and I actually really enjoyed it, and I heard that there's supposed to be a special edition, extended version of it come out at some time in the future. I haven't heard much more about that. I think Ryan Phillippe was on Howard Stern's show talking about it. I think that's where I heard it. But, yeah.
I would think that movie I think it would really benefit from like a reissue because I think, I don't know why this, like the timing wasn't right or something, but there's a lot of fascination with that period, and with Studio 54 it's still going on. I just can't imagine it not, I mean, given another chance, I could see it, really having a second life.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and seeing Mike Myers playing a dramatic role, that was really cool too, something different for him.
And I think part of it may be that why it didn't do so well is that people didn't know what to do with that. It was like they couldn't accept or just get behind the idea of him playing a dramatic role.
Yeah, but that's what acting is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you look at the supporting cast, it's just like it's a tremendous cast and a story that continues to be intriguing, that whole period and that, hedonistic lifestyle and the sort of, burn bright and, live fast, die young kind of thing of Studio 54. I can't imagine it not having maybe a successful resurgence. Well,
yeah, and Selma Hayek and Nev Campbell in that too, Yeah, really good cast, and the film looks good too. Like the whole look of the film.
It does. I remember sitting on the set that was Studio 54, and it was just. I mean, I didn't really know much about that, even though that is sort of my time period. But I was sort of more into punk rock at the time that disco was really happening.
Yeah.
But having, when I was researching it and researching Andy Warhol and stuff and seeing images of Studio 54 and then going into this set that was an exact replica, it was extraordinary. The effort and set production values of that were pretty extraordinary.
Yes. Well, hopefully, it'll get a respectful release and Yeah, I wish some of these movies still had the footage that was tossed. Because think of some of the with today, people can shoot a movie and cut scenes out and do a special edition release. And some movies like the Blues Brothers and Stripes were lucky they released extended versions of them that survive. So but some.
But it was less common back in the day. I mean that. People weren't thinking about the fact that they'd be doing, DVD releases with deleted scenes and extended versions. And yeah, you think of all of the movies that, there must have been amazing footage that didn't make it and, would be great to see, but it's lost.
Well, you got Horror Hound coming up, Lynne Griffin, and I gotta say, I wish I could be there. Like I said, I'm making my... That's a major thing. I'm a little nervous about traveling to Toronto because I've never been outside New Brunswick, but I'm quite stoked to go to Horrorama. But I'm really glad I'm going to get to connect with you two when you get back. I know there's a couple other people that I've interviewed that might want to say hello to me, in person. And so, but you're going to be at Horror Hound, and you said something on the phone to me the other day when I was talking to you that I thought was so strange, where they say that at these conventions they don't have you back 2 years in a row, and I'm like, why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't know that I've ever gone back 2 years in a row at any of them. But that may be their policy, that, like, you're sort of, I don't know whether they think that you go to one and then everyone who wants to see you has been, and so they have to find other, like, they have to change it up. They have to always have different people. I don't really know, because I've actually, a couple of them I have requested, you know, or offered to come back and not been taken up on it. So
well,
I don't understand that.
Well, I know Leslie Donaldson. This will be her second appearance at Horrorama. Of course, it's not 2 years in a row, but I know I've had people I've interviewed that said they've never done a signing in Canada. Like Cindy Morgan from Caddyshack had mentioned she had never done a signing in Canada. She would be a catch. And Alan Ford from Snatch also has never done a signing in Canada, and I think he would be also a draw, you know? Yeah. Like, I know I've reached out to these conventions to see if I could get them on my show, because maybe I could connect them with some people that fans would like to see, but...
Well, you know, I think it has become, you know, a bit of an industry. I mean, I'm finally, I mean, I have worked with different representatives before, but I'm finally with someone who I think is really connected. And I don't know whether the other people that I had as representation just didn't have the connections. I mean, it's very, I don't even know what the word is, but there's some sort of clique or
secret society.
Yeah, it's like you...
Inner circle.
I mean, when I told you, you know, if you've done one and they think it's competitive to the one that they do, they don't want to bring you in.
Oh, really?
Which just seems odd to me.
Which is so strange.
Because it just seems, you know, offer up fans like a whole multitude of people that they can choose from, whoever they want to meet and whoever they've been following or, you know, collecting autographs of. But the fact that they're actually, you know...
It's almost like if you join that club, you can't join our club, or...
Right. And, yeah, it's weird. They're very, very selective, and then sometimes they just don't want you to come back, or you've been there, so you've been there, we've had you there, we don't need you there again. And I would like to go back to some of them.
Yeah, I think that would be terrific. Like, to me, if somebody was a draw, especially in a film that's got a following, and like something like Black Christmas, where you got that image with the plastic bag, I'd like, yeah, bring them back.
Right. And I don't know whether they maybe think that, you know, sometimes it's like the pretty girl or the famous girl who goes, I can't get a date. You know what I mean? Right. Nobody ever thinks of asking me because they think I'm already busy, or I think that I would say no because I'm too popular, or I wouldn't agree to go out on a date. And you go, that's like so crazy. We're the people who are going, please ask me.
Hey, I have no problem asking you folks to come on my show, so they should have no problem asking you to come to a convention.
People are probably too busy.
Do you
asked you once, so we don't ask again.
So silly.
Like, cause we don't want to be turned down, but you go, I wouldn't turn you down. I'd agree to it. I'd agree. I love to do them, and I would do as many as I possibly could.
Have you got any interesting stuff that you've been asked to sign at these conventions? Like any interesting memorabilia or stuff you've been asked to sign?
Yeah, there's one guy who collects Black Christmas posters, but he's got them. Like, he had like an Italian version,
and huge,
and they're huge. You know, they're
lobby posters.
Yeah, they're lobby posters. That, I mean, I think they've gone online and spent, you know, a fair amount of dollars to buy these huge lobby posters and then have everybody sign them. But I remember, I mean, I've seen ones from particularly of Black Christmas, from like really far-flung, exotic places.
Oh, wow.
One year he brought the Italian one, and it's one. There was an image that I'd never ever seen, which you've probably seen because it's sort of a woman inside a Christmas ornament.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Well, he had an original lobby poster of that. But sometimes, I see images that I've never seen before, or the whole poster is in foreign language. It's in Spanish or something like that, and you're like, this is incredible. I usually get them to take a picture of it with me because I love to see these posters that I've never seen before.
Yes, and of course that death scene for Margot Kidder's scene, that was just a highlight there with Olivia Hussey in the carolers in the back at the front door, and you get those unicorn ornaments, being used on her. That was very well done.
And extremely well edited.
Yes. Now, Sean, do you do a lot of conventions?
Not really. I mean, I tend to go with Lynne because it helps to have two people. Just because things can get kind of frantic and chaotic, and sometimes Lynne will get stuck with people wanting to talk for long periods of time, and I'll go get her a cup of tea or whatever. But I've only done one or two. But I mean, since my films don't really fall in the horror genre, I mean, the only one, I did the last of the Howling movies.
Yeah.
But my things don't really fit in that category. So
you don't think Wayne's World and Ski Patrol classify as horror?
The horror.
But I will tell you, Greg, there have been times when Sean is sitting at my table with me, and people have kind of come along and going, aren't you, well, how come I can't get an autograph from you? You didn't bring any photographs with you. So I keep encouraging him. I say, even when you come and sit with me,
I bring some stuff.
Put
Yes.
Photographs. Because there are people who recognize you and would love for you to be there, even though you might have not been officially asked by the people promoting or putting together the show. There's people that and they'll come back and they say, "Are you going to be here tomorrow? Because I have my Babylon 5 card I want you to sign."
Well, here's the thing. When I interviewed you last year, I didn't know you and Sean were a couple, and you had mentioned that he was in Ski Patrol, and it's been so long since I've seen Ski Patrol. But I remember, Roger Rose and the young lady that was in it, and I remember Leslie Jordan. But I remember Sean as Suicide, but I didn't connect the two names. But I remember that character so well. And then you mentioned he was in Wayne's World, and I'm like, okay, this is all coming back.
Right.
Yeah. So I absolutely think that you should bring stuff for, to be signed and whatnot. Because, like I said, I'm looking forward when I get into Toronto, meeting up with the two of you. This is a first for me. I've never flown before. I'm a little nervous about that, but I'm tending to do this.
Well, this is great. It's like a New Horizons, and it's a nice short flight. So you're not like going across the continent or something. So it's first flight. It's good that it's not a really long one.
And you don't have to go through U.S. Customs.
No. Well, I'm going to take Porter Airlines. I've been.
It's the best.
Yeah, I've been told that, but my brother's girlfriend told me to take Porter, and I'm going to land in Ottawa for a couple hours, and I go from Ottawa to Toronto, and
as long as the things you bring are in the tiny versions,
okay,
travel versions, and put them in a Ziploc baggie.
Okay.
Then you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and you won't find it too difficult because you're not leaving the country either.
No.
But Porter Airlines is great because the lounge at Porter, you can get free
They give you lots of free stuff.
They give you lots of, like, cookies and newspapers and any kind of juice and coffee, espresso. The lounges are really luxurious.
It's a really nice, civilized way to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been told that. Yeah, my brother's girlfriend told me you get lots of free stuff. I'm like, how can I turn that down?
Oh, exactly.
No, exactly. And so you do a little hop to Ottawa, and then you do a little hop to Toronto. It's like, that's a good way to start your flying life.
Right. Well, the subway is great, and Toronto is so easy. It's on a grid. So it's easy to find your way around, and it's easy to get everywhere on TTC. So I think you're going to really love it, and you're going to find it really like a very, very friendly, very cosmopolitan, lots and lots of things to do.
And you've got someone to help you,
Yeah, navigate.
Yeah, Lisa. I know Lisa's got she's only going to be there one day for the convention because she's got a charity auction or charity for Dogs of Asia on the Saturday before, so she'll be there Sunday doing a panel with Leslie. So I'll be on my own that Saturday. I'm going to make a donation, of course, to the charity. And then, of course, with the VIP ticket, I can go to the after party, too, so...
There you go.
Well, it sounds like you're going to be a busy boy.
I need to know, though, before I let you two go, what is next? You got any plays coming up? What is next?
What have I got?
You have a play coming up in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Right. I'm going to do a play in Sydney, Nova Scotia right at the beginning of the year. I'm doing the Glass Menagerie again that I did in Vancouver a year ago.
During the cold time? You're coming up here in winter?
Yeah.
You bet. Why not? I wish they'd asked me to come in the summertime. But
no kidding.
It's slot in January, so I'm used to it. I've been there.
You come by Fredericton again and have some more sushi?
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Maybe there'll be a snowstorm and we'll get rerouted to Fredericton.
Yeah. Was you doing
unusual?
Yeah.
Or maybe you can get on. I don't know. You probably Can you get a bus from Fredericton to Sydney? No.
I don't know. I've never been to Nova Scotia. So, Sean, what do you have coming up?
I worked on a new TV series called Frankie Drake, which is a new series on CBC that's premiering next month. And I'm trying to think when my episode shows up, but fingers crossed that this could turn into a recurring character on this new series. Right now, I've written a kind of crazy clown play that's in development, and I'm writing grant proposals to get some workshops done. So I'm sort of, it's sort of my own creations right now, and there's been, there are little spats of auditions that come and go, and we both do voice work as well as on-camera work. So. In fact, while we've been talking, I found out I have a voice audition tomorrow that I have to look at. But, it's sort of the usual thing. We both had pretty busy summers, and it's a little slower right now. But, when you're not working for someone else, you work for yourself. So that's sort of what I'm doing right now, is creating my own show.
That clown player, you going to have some pie throwing in it?
Well, that would be an idea, but it's kind of a darker clown play than that.
You mean like It?
Somewhere between the pie throwing and It. Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle there.
More like Sideshow.
I'm still throwing. What's that? What's that?
It's the title of the play is The Slaughter Brothers Dime Circus. So, there is a darker element, though it's not quite it. Or though actually it may be anyway, it's still in development, so we'll see what it's going to be.
Okay, we look forward to that. So what's you two got your day off because of your car, huh?
Yeah, car's in the shop.
Yeah, I actually have to go over there because I left some stuff in the car, so I have to go walk over to the mechanics and get some stuff out of the car. Some DVDs that I left in the back seat.
Oh, what DVDs?
Oh, I can't even remember. We've been sort of library DVDing. So anyway, it's just, you know, I have to go for a long walk, and it looks like it's going to rain. So
You better take an umbrella.
I should probably get going.
So who put the car in the shop? Who's gonna point blame at who here?
It's just wear and tear. You know, nothing accident oriented. Thank God.
So Lynne Griffin didn't do a strange brew charge the gate thing.
Through the gate?
Thank God. No.
No. Poor Car's old age.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, you two? I'm so happy to have the honor of having you two on my show for a second time, and I look forward to meeting you two at Horrorama. That I am so psyched about this. My first trip out, and you know, getting to connect with you and you both, and Lisa and Leslie, and this is going to be a whole new experience for me. So. This is, so
and it's so cool that we can say, yeah, we'll see you later.
Yeah, you can honestly say that, and I'm going to bring some stuff for you two to sign. And yes, if you can connect me with Nancy Keyes, I would love that. If she's open to it, then absolutely. But
We'll see what we can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, before you two go, could I get you both to do a plug for my show?
I'm Lynne Griffin.
And I'm Sean Sullivan.
And we have been talking to
Greg Gilbert.
From
Fredericton, New Brunswick.
From New Brunswick on Python's Paradise. What a trip.